Alternator.
Aye.
Aye.
You looking for something to do?
Aye, always.
Clearly.
First start.
Yeah. Let's get done it. Yeah. I'm clearly the king of procrastination when it comes to this, and whilst we are chipping through this list gradually, what the alternator needs is just real donkey work.
Okay, what kind of donkey work? I'm a donkey, so...
Well, you know, I've not seen you naked. I've kind of had a wee... do what I usually do, several episodes down the list when I've been working on other things. I'll kind of chew this over my head, and I think what we're going to have to do is definitely relocate this alternator. I don't like leaving it on this side, there's too much going on there. But what we need is to put it here. Now there's a few things we need to consider with this alternator that we're going to have to make sure we engineer out of the solution. The first off is, down here we have a crank position sensor, which is unusual. Well, are we going to say that's unusual?
It's not unusual to have fun with anyone.
But I would have thought by this generation Mazda would have engineered something a bit more internal, but clearly an external crank position sensor exists on this car and we're going to have to avoid it. So I've left the old belt on for this, and you'll see that we can get a maximum of about 30 degrees of deflection from top dead centre there before it's starting to kind of foul on or get close to where that crank position sensor is. So if we were to mount an alternator here, it's going to have to sit in this region here, which is fine, nothing's in the way. The other consideration is the top of the belt. I don't really want to take it past 3 o'clock in either direction. We've got a coolant thing here, which I don't want to move. It's, you know, does coolant, and let's not make things more complicated than they have to be. Similarly, the top here had a number of brackets, and I think these could probably come off, but it's just going to be cleaner if this belt stays at 90 degrees. So our alternator needs to live here, and we need to be quite conscious of how that adjustment goes as well. Now, the convenient part is we've got this bracket here, which is going to be the takeoff where this alternator is going to hang off of.
Complicated?
So, like I say, this is going to be complicated eventually, but to begin with, donkey work. I need a plate that goes on the side of that engine and picks up those 3 bolt holes.
I love you say donkey work, and I'm thinking donkey work is like bolting something into a prefixed hole.
It is.
That's complex to me.
Nah.
That's 3-dimensional.
Nah.
Right, you tell me.
It's 2-dimensional, you just need a plate that catches these 3 holes.
Oh, is that all you want? Not necessarily anything coming out of it?
No, just let's start with the plate and we'll build for there.
Alright, aye, that's donkey work. Aye.
That's donkey work, so.
Isn't the alternator quite big though? Like,
Yes.
It looks so small. I just don't know if your vision, Tommy, just to see the end product, but I can make a plate with 3 holes in it. I can manage that. We'll get a nice thick 3mm steel. If we get any 3mm sheet steel,
Yeah.
aye, we'll get some of that. Bit of cardboard, wee bit of drawing, bit of drilling, and before you know it, we'll have a plate 3 inch by 3.5 inch. So we're going to start off with that shape. We shall draw in some ink onto the bolt holes and then press the cardboard up against it, and hopefully that will give us an idea of where we're going to be cutting or drilling. To be honest, I'm not entirely confident this is going to work anyway, because I need to fidget it to get it in, do you know what I mean? I might end up rubbing the ink away. We got a bit of one. That didn't go entirely to plan.
Well, it was worth a shot.
Definitely was.
What's plan B?
Stab.
Aye, okay.
Stab
also works.
That's us. We're relatively close.
The big man has presented me with a template. Now, you'll note here on the template, which we did, in fairness, cut out and was accurate to what we needed. Once the holes got punched through, this end
bit close, yeah.
A bit tight. Well, that's good, because on the template at least we can just offset that and give us the extra meat that we're going to need. We can then trim this down on the back end. So 1, 2, 3. Draw around the edges, and I will extrapolate that to be there. That's the bracket we need.
Lovely.
I've noticed how every successful YouTuber at some point in every single thing they do say, just go ahead and We're just going to go ahead and do this. We're just going to go ahead and do that. I refuse to be that guy, so. Right, alternator. Sorry, that was just out of my head and out of yours. As mechanical holder has now knocked us together a bracket, we have to consider some of the wider issues that we're going to have. And this is going to be an indicator as to why I've put this off for so bloody long. So on the side of the block, we have got 3 holes like this. This area that we're making the plate up for is where the power steering used to live. Now obviously we've deleted power steering, so as a result we can use this space. However, it doesn't just fall on. We've got a few things that we're going to have to consider. Right here is an exhaust manifold. Now as you can see, when we've been looking at it, I'm going to have to orientate the alternator to keep it as far away from that as possible and to keep the loom even further away than the alternator is going to be. Ultimately, we're going to have to heat wrap this, so we'll get to that in a later point in time. So the alternator is going to live in this region here, okay? And pulley is going to live here. So what do we need to consider when we've got a pulley? Making sure it runs straight. So this bracket is going to have to pick up this bolt here and tie it into this plate here. That's pretty simple, but there are some things we're going to have to consider. Namely, making sure all of that, and I mean all of it, is perfectly straight and level. Now I'm going to take a wee punt here and say that at least the engine is going to be perpendicular to the pulley. That being, that face is going to be at right angles to that face. So we can make some assumptions off of the back of that. However, the big problem we're going to really have is making sure that is at 90 degrees. Because if the pulley ends up at that, it's just going to keep throwing belts. We do have a level of fudge that we can build into this. Now as you'll note, I have made these holes slightly bigger than what they were before. That's going to give me a level of adjustment. So if we find we're throwing belts off, we can always go and move this. Ultimately though, when we put the bracket on for the final time with the alternator, I'll be able to set square it off of a sister pulley, make sure that it's bang on straight. That'll give me some amount of error when we're making the bracket. Not a lot though. So similarly, we're going to have to look into some tricks to keep things straight. Right, so we're just about to weld the tube onto the bracket that we've just made up. Now, remember earlier on when we did the diagram, nobody could understand. I did say we were going to have to do a wee trick for perpendicularity. That is, making sure that this thing and this bracket are perfectly straight. That's the trick. That's it. Get a nice meaty set square and make sure that this backing plate, when it's absolutely parallel, can tack onto here and remain that way. So, as long as I've got that line straight, once it's tacked, we're good to do the final weld.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But is this really going to hold the alternator?
Well, yes, I mean it's going to hold the alternator. Whether or not it's going to do it stably is another matter, which is where...
There'll be a lot of tension. I'd imagine that would be quite stressful on the metal.
So we're going to pass it back to mechanical holder for gussets.
Gussets, ooh, man loves a gusset.
Yeah. So, if you can add some strength to that, that'd be glorious.
Okay. Is that what you're thinking about?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, that'll be bang on. But I think rather than that, we'll go for that.
So we can still get to a bolt hole?
Aye, because as good as it could be with strength, it's not really going to work if I can't bolt it onto there.
So where are we going to gusset to specifically? I presume not the pipe, but actually in the corner here?
Aye.
It's taken a minute here to process my brain. So your traditional gusset like this is just a triangle.
Yeah.
Because it's a two-dimensional plane, the shape of that. But what we're trying to do here is produce another triangle at this side, but it's going to rotate around here, so that adds a third axis, which means it's more complicated.
It doesn't really.
Aye, because it's not just going to sit like that, because see if it does, the triangle won't make contact with that back bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well.
know if it's a straight triangle. Well, let me cut a triangle out of my previously produced shape.
Well, that's a right angle triangle.
Oh, so just, you don't want it running up
Allow me to
perpendicular to this. It just needs to go straight back, like that.
put it to there and project that line down.
Oh, aye. See, this is why you're clever and I'm no. Right, now I get it.
Arts and crafts with mechanical holder.
Look, Peter.
Lucky Peter. Yeah.
It's sitting at an angle, but that's the way it's going to be, innit?
Yeah.
And that means we've got easy access to the hole here, which mounts this onto the side of the block.
Yes.
And the same with the other two.
Yeah.
But it adds strength.
Yes.
We'll pretend I didn't do that, viewers. Going, why is this no cutting in? Something can't be right here.
That smells delightful.
Oh, I see you have a spark machine.
I've got a hot glue gun and a stool suitable for a substantial
Here we
person.
go.
And we have.
That's a monstrosity.
You want to try again? Try
Yep.
a different part. Yep, that'll hold it.
Cool. That's horrific.
Okay. So what I'll do,
I was struggling, like, see if I put it too far in, it was getting stuck.
I'll carry on with. There's a spare lid behind the spray booth.
Yep.
I'm just going to go over your welds and you'll see the technique we're actually.
Lovely.
Jobbed.
So we have a bracket.
Yeah, we also have really burny fingers, so.
Yeah. It has literally just been welded, but there it is. In all its glory and magnificence.
It only took me like a month of procrastination before we decided to do it, but it's done. Well, it's almost done. Right, the reason I've not tightened this up is because I have a suspicion here that if this is fully plated. Oh, boys!
It works.
We actually get it in past there as well.
It's a damn shame it doesn't go the other way around. But nevertheless, it is indeed in.
There we go, one alternator bracket.
Do you now need to get something grown out for the bottom?
Yes, but before we get something going out for the bottom, now that we've got the alternator on, we need to establish what size of belt we need. Now, you'll note here that I've already chopped this belt because it's far too small, but it was quite useful for us to line things up and check the alignment. For example, going across here, you will see that the water coolant hose here that I was so in the mood for not hitting, we're still going to be pretty close to. So I think we'll just take this hose off and find some way that it can be rerouted so that it does a bit more of that rather than a bit more of that. So that's fine. My real concern was this crank position sensor down here. Now you'll see here that in this position it does touch it, but if we then tighten the alternator up, we may clear it. Or we may not. That's annoying, isn't it?
Oh, I see it's filing on the back of it. Jesus, that is annoying. I feel like I know what the solution to this is. A tensioner. Like a pulley mounted here somewhere. But that's going to be a pain in the arse, surely. Or can you change the path the belt routes in?
No, not really.
Nah, you're kind of stuck, aren't you? So the only way to change the direction the belt goes in would be to put a pulley down there.
It's not the worst idea in the world, do you know that?
And it could be fabricated onto the very bracket that mounts the bottom of the alternator to the block. It'd be quite a messy big bracket, but
But it would work, wouldn't it?
it would work.
And that's the only thing we really need to worry about, is making it work. So yeah, if we were to put a wee...
A non-ribbed one, yeah, exactly like that.
to go like that, yeah, that would do the trick, wouldn't it?
If it's any consolation, mate, the later MX5 engine has the same thing. There's a crank position
really isn't
sensor.
any consolation, but you know, good to know. Thanks for that. I'm going to chew this over for a bit. I'll chew over.
Let's move on to something else.
Ah.
Like we do whenever we hit a wall.
Yeah.
Forget about it and it'll solve itself in due course.
Yeah. So we're a week down the line, and having dropped off our 4PK 885 belt, we've measured up and we need to replace it with a 4PK 980, which is basically 980mm around the whole circumference of where this belt needs to travel. So let's throw this on and see if we're actually going to clear this sensor. Well, the jury's out. I don't know, we might be able to skim a wee bit off that. It doesn't look like the actual metal part, i.e. the magnetic pickup of the sensor, is going to touch the belt. It just looks like a wee bit of the casing is going to skim it. I might just let the belt work that one out, if you know what I mean. But anyway, that's a job for another day. We've spent far too long procrastinating about that bracket, and we've now spent far too long today making it. So we're going to wrap up here, and next episode, get back onto something else on this list. In the meantime, I'm sure at some point around here, we'll make up a turnbuckle that will just put tension on that alternator, and that will close it until it's tomorrow's problem. Like so many things at the moment seem to be tomorrow's problem. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate all these new subscribers that jumped in. We're pushing on for 3,000, which is amazing. So thank you everybody for the support. If you haven't done that, by the way, like, subscribe, bell. That's the only way we grow. To all the Patreons who have supported this project, some of which from the start, huge thanks. It is paying for all of this madness, and if I'm being honest, some of my mistakes, so sorry about that. If you want to know what that's all about, patreon.com/toolsandtrack. Go on there, help a brother out, even just buy us a coffee, whatever. It helps massively with the project. That's me for now, so I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.
Got a fat heat.
No, you've also got earphones on.
Aye, but I've also got a fat heat.
You've also got earphones on.
There we go, jobs are good mostly.
Man loves a gusset.
Man does love it.
I'm not even going to cut that out.